Hey guys, it's Jess. I know it's been a while since my last video, and I know I say that an awful lot, but I have a handful of different reasons as to why it's been so long since my last video. And, I'm going to go over those briefly, and then I'm going to get into what I wanted to talk about on this video. First of all, what's going on and why I haven't made a video in a while. Um, Honestly, I've just been way too stressed out, very anxious. There's a lot of stuff going on, uh, and I'm just overloaded with things on my mind when it comes to money, where we're gonna live, what I'm gonna do with myself. Where am I gonna work? Can I manage to go back to school somehow? Just my medications. I mean, there's just so much on my plate. Um, I've just I I don't have the energy in me to come up with topics to talk about and make videos. So I just simply haven't been. Not because I don't want to, but because I just don't have the ability. Um, the other thing that's really been keeping me from making videos is that all of the news in North Carolina and the LGBT laws and everything else, like I'm keeping up with them on a day by day basis, and I'm reading the news and I'm reading the stories, but it's just it's adding more stress and anxiety and stuff to what I already have to deal with. I've got enough on my plate to not be worrying about my civil human rights in certain states, and potentially this entire country. Um, that I don't want to talk about it right now. I don't I don't have it in me right now to talk about it. Okay, so getting that out of the way, why am I making a video? What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about something that I don't think I've talked about before, and it's kind of a shame because it's something that's really important to me. So rather than talk about all these topics just because I feel like I should talk about them, or, I'm bothered by this topic right now, or whatever it is, I want to talk about something that's a passion of mine and something that I'm really into. I want to talk about why it's important to me, what it has done for me, and the occasional problems that can come from it and things like that. So what I want to talk about is role playing. And when I say that, I know immediately people are jumping to a whole bunch of conclusions. I am not talking about sexual role play in the bedroom. I am not talking about dressing up and clothing and running around doing things or whatever. I'm talking about one specific type of role playing, and that's online role playing. For me, typically that involves doing it in a video game or some sort of virtual world or something where I can be whoever it is I want to be. Now, first, I will say this. I really do think, not think, I really do believe that video games have saved my life. That if it was not for video games and my passion in them and the outlet they have given me to be who I am, I don't know that I'd still be here. Um, so they're very, very important to me. But this is the reason why, and it's something that my parents never really fully understood. In fact, my parents have always been more or less hardline against me playing video games. When I was a child, all the way to now, probably. They probably still don't like the fact that I play video games, and quite frankly, oh well. I'm not going to stop. It's not happening. Um, my mom used to tell me when I was a kid and I had a Game Boy and a Nintendo. When the Super Nintendo came out, she told me she wouldn't buy me a Super Nintendo or any games for it because I would grow out of video games within a couple years and it would be a waste of money. She told me that again during, PlayStation and N64 era, and PlayStation 2 and Xbox, and so on and so on and so on. I ended up having to buy all of my consoles and most of my games with my own birthday or Christmas money as I was growing up, um, because I just didn't have support to play them. And that's not because my parents were bad or whatever else. It's because they thought they were doing right by me, and maybe if I was someone else, but I'm not. I'm me, and they weren't helping. Um, for those that don't know, I pushed on beyond that, ended up starting my own business, um, creating a video game. Did rather well for a few years until a lot of personal issues developed that caused just things to fall apart. Um, but what really sets video games to like a whole nother level for me is that ability to live the fantasy of being someone else. Sure, you can go read a book or watch a movie, but you don't actually get to be those characters. You just watch them. You're watching somebody else be a character, and that's like just watching somebody else be who they are. They're being their themselves. You aren't participating in that, and that's where the difference of video games comes for me. Now, a lot of video games have a story written out for the character or whatever. But those aren't the ones I really, really care about. The ones I really care about are the ones where you get to make decisions and you get to design your character and you get to be who you want to be and get to live in that character. Now, for me, I've been role playing online in these virtual worlds for almost 2 full decades now. And while it's only been recently that I've began transitioning to be who I really should be, the I for those 2 decades I have been being who I'm supposed to be. And a lot of times I didn't realize what it was that I was actually doing. I was just kind of doing it. And it never really occurred to me, but all the way back almost 2 full decades ago, I originally, when I first started, I made a male character. I couldn't connect with that male character. I couldn't really role play him in a way that I enjoyed. And so I made a different male character. I thought maybe I just need to try something different. And that didn't work either. Then I made a female character. And things clicked. And I made another female character and things clicked. And I made another female character and things clicked. And soon, very, very soon, when I'm still in high school, I have people telling me online that they really do think I'm a girl. And when they found out that I wasn't a girl, they were surprised because I role played one so perfectly. And for anybody out there who's never role played or, doesn't really understand this sort of thing, it is incredibly difficult for somebody who is male to write a compelling female character and vice versa. It's very, very difficult. A lot of like big name writers still struggle with it to this day because they don't feel the way that other gender feels, and they only have like their experiences with them to go off of, or other books and things that they've read and what other writers have written. They don't actually have the experience of being those people to pull from, so it makes it very difficult. For me, female characters were where I shined, and I loved every damn moment of it. And it was incredibly important to me that I have that outlet, because that outlet brought me a lot of joy, and it brought me a lot of relief and things that I needed badly in my life. Um, it was just very, very important that I get those things. Over those 2 decades, playing all these female characters, it didn't even dawn on me until I began transitioning that I was like, this is why this is so important to me. It's because this has been my outlet to be sane, to be able to deal with who I am without actually making that transition. I've been living a transition for almost 2 decades online. You know, the question of how do you know that you're transgender, or when did you figure it out, or how do you know you're not making a mistake or whatever, all of that comes into that that notion that I know because I've spent 2 decades living it. While my outside real life personality and person have not been feminine, at least not to the level that they can be, but they've been feminine just by nature. I've always been this feminine thing, this quandary. I've lived it for over 2 decades, and I've lived it well, and it brings me a lot of joy. And once I started transitioning and doing a lot of other things, and I had a lot of things going on in my life, I kind of fell out of role playing for a while. And it's because things just weren't going the way I wanted them to go with my characters and the connections my characters had, and I wasn't really happy in the particular games that I was playing and everything else. So I needed a break, and I took one. And now I'm back. I've made a new character, and I'm pushing forward again to build relations and everything else. And I think people out there need to realize just how wonderful something like role playing can be for somebody who just always wished that they could be something else, or always felt weird or odd or out of place or whatever else. Role playing is a great way to express yourself. Even if you're not expressing what you yourself want to be, you can still get your creative outlet going. I can pretty much tell you that if I were to write a book, which I don't have, I'm too stressed, I have too much anxiety, and I don't have the ability to sit and concentrate for that long. But if I were to write a book, it would probably be a hit. Um, because I have 2 decades of writing under my belt. Um, you can see the differences between someone's role playing skill who has been doing it for a long time versus somebody who hasn't. You can almost immediately tell how long somebody has been role playing. So I've developed a skill that doesn't really help me so much when it comes to the real world, unless I decide to go into something where I am doing some sort of storytelling, which isn't exactly something easy to get into in the first place. In fact, it's nearly impossible to get into, especially for the position I'm in, where I'm kind of stuck right now. I seem stalled and unable to really move in any real direction. I'm so hammered in by bills and debt and just so much stuff keeping me weighed down that I don't have ability to breathe. So role playing is like my escape for me. Now, as wonderful as role playing has been for me and given me that ability to express myself, live my actual existence in a lot of ways, strengthen my own skills, whether in typing or creative writing and things of that nature, as well as develop personal connections, including my current girlfriend, who is awesome. We met online through roleplay. We had no intention to actually be together, get together, really. It just kind of happened. And it's a wonderful thing. And we both were able to connect via something that we love doing. Um, but as much as it can be this wonderful thing that helps you a lot, like I did have a character where I tried to actually role play a character who was transgender. It was an odd feeling. Part of me was happy I was doing it, and another part of me was like, I don't know. Because I had a lot of friends that they didn't care. They were totally fine with the fact that I was role playing a transgender person. They were like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Awesome. But at the same time, I felt weird because I was role playing myself, and I that wasn't very fun for me because I don't want to role play all the issues that I have in another character. That's no fun. I want to role play a character that's larger than life and has their own things going on, and that gets my creative juices flowing. Um, so yeah, that didn't go as well as I'd hoped, but it was still a good learning experience, and taught me some things I'm probably better off knowing now, as it comes to my transition and things. The But as much good as roleplay can do, it can hurt you sometimes too. You can have relationships that go bad, storylines that go bad, friendships that you have over role playing for years that just dissolve into nothing. Um, Things just, mm, it's difficult. Roleplay can eat up a lot of your time and desire and stuff. And when you really start getting creative and you find some other people that are really creative that you can write back and forth off of, and it really does feel like you're writing a novel, or you're even reading a really good novel, and you don't want to stop. You want to just keep reading, but you have the rest of reality around you to deal with, and that sometimes is really hard. Like, I've always been able to balance work and things like that. That's not a problem. But working friendships and relationships and things like that around things like role playing is very, very difficult to do sometimes, because there's times where you're just like, oh, I want to get on and write this story. I have such great ideas and it's starting to come together and it's going to be amazing. But I also want to spend time with this person over here and that person over there, and I want to go here and do this, and it becomes really difficult. Um, but the main thing that sparks me wanting to talk about this, and again, I'm sorry my videos are so damn long, but there's so many thoughts inside my head that I want to talk about that I could probably sit here for literally hours just going on and on and on, and nobody wants to hear that. But I try to keep my videos as short as possible. Anyway, the main thing that really got me thinking about this and has me doing this, I mean, it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm still talking right now because I have things that I want to get out there. The biggest thing that I can think of, as of late, that really got me wanting to make this video and talk about this subject, it really spurred me on to think about this subject and realize, why haven't I talked about this before? I had an experience through roleplay where somebody was playing a male character who decided to change their character to female. In this game, there is an item that you can buy that lets you alter your character's gender and race, and it's a fantasy game, so there's like different like weird races like elves and things like that. And the this potion you can buy lets you change all that. Now, story wise, lore wise, when you're writing a story and you're role playing, you often ignore game mechanics because they don't make sense a lot of times in the way the rest of everything else works. A good example of this would be having the ability to resurrect your teammates. Now, that's a really good implementation when it comes to game mechanics, because if your friends die, okay, I can bring them back to life and we can continue fighting. But story wise, it doesn't make any sense, because you're watching all these stories where people get killed and people die and there's all this emotion and the characters are upset and everything else. And it's like, why are you so upset? We can just cast raise. We can just heal them and resurrect them, bring them back to life. That's one of those areas where I'm like, I don't really like this mechanic. Same thing with instantly teleporting throughout the world. It's really boring when it comes to story. If I can just teleport from one place to another and walk 2 feet to be at the location I'm going to, what's the real point? I can go anywhere in the world and be there pretty much like that. So it's game mechanics like that are just not really something that I would normally consider valid for roleplay purposes. Now, this person chose to use an item that you can buy that doesn't have any actual lore reasons. And in fact, it kind of breaks the lore if you count it as an actual item. And I'm not saying this because I have an issue with this person, because I don't. I really, really like this person quite a lot. And they're probably going to be watching this video. Um, but for me, I had a really hard time right off the bat because that particular item, if you think about it lore wise, breaks all the lore. It breaks the entire storyline of the game, because if any character can just get a hold of a potion that turns them into whatever the hell they want to look like, then what's stopping anybody from being a bad guy? I mean, what's stopping anybody from sabotaging people or robbing people or killing people or just turning into somebody else, pretending to be them for 20 minutes and then switching back or whatever? It's very messy. It doesn't make any sense. But what bothers me even more about the whole thing was that emotional hit inside of me of a male character who made the decision to choose and drink a potion to turn them into a female. Like that. When they became female, instantly there was storyline going on about what it's like being a female. Having breasts, the hormones, the voice, the looks, makeup, clothing, um, all the intricacies of what it is that differentiates between male and female. Storyline wise, if somebody were to do that, it makes sense. So I can't be mad about that or upset about that or anything like that. That's not where I had my issue. My issue was that it hit me inside because I'm sitting here going through this in the real world, and it's not that easy. I can't just drink a bottle of something and be 100% female. It doesn't work that way. So to see somebody do that in roleplay right in front of me, and for me to be involved in those scenes, was something that I wasn't prepared for, and I wasn't willing to stay and be involved in that, and I had to separate myself from that because it was too powerful of a thing into me. So I stepped away from that and kept my distance for a while, and it took a while before I was willing to come back and try to rebuild relationships with that particular player. But I really do want to. I mean, I want to move past this. I don't want this to be something that keeps beating me down. But it's something I wanted to talk about because I think most people out there don't realize just how much certain little things can affect somebody who's transitioning. The littlest of little things are like daggers in the heart at times. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, a good example I thought of that I wanted to talk about before, but I just never got around to it, was the someone's driver's license. People take that for granted. They take their driver's license for granted. And the thing is, if I go out and hang out with people and stuff, I can be dressed up. I can be wearing a dress. I can have my hair done and my makeup and everything else. And everybody around me is treating me completely fine, and it's wonderful. The moment that I want something to drink, though, I have to pull out my ID. I have to give somebody my ID where I'm clearly male. They're going to look at that and look at me, and then I just feel extremely self-conscious. So going somewhere that has alcohol is always something that I'm like really sketchy on about how I feel, what I want to do. And so these interactions, like the one I had in roleplay, are really, really hard for me to accept, even if it's something that I'm extremely passionate about and I really enjoy. Those sorts of actions are just really, difficult for me to move through. But I'm gonna keep pushing to do that because I can't I can't let myself be held down by such things. And I don't want other people to treat me like I'm a precious little wallflower because these things bother me. Like I think I'm always going to have things that bother me, but I don't want other people to feel like they have to be on tiptoes around me. So, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. It was something that was on my mind, and I really do feel like talking through things is a good way of figuring things out and settling them in your head. So, thank you very much. I know, long ass video, but you know, I feel a lot better. So that's what matters to me at the moment. So thank you very much. If you've watched it, if you've listened, if you have any comments, feel free to toss them my way. And thank you very much, guys.